Hello. Good morning, students. Can you hear my voice through the mask? If you are not able to hear, I'll remove it. Please reply in the chat. My voice is clear, right? Okay. If you find any trouble, you can say I'll then remove my mask. Okay. Okay then. Actually, we started this class in the last week on the Thursday, but due to some technical problems, we couldn't continue. We'll deal with it today. So, topic for today is anatomy of deep neck spaces. So, before going to that, we'll see briefly about the neck as a whole. So, the extent. What is neck? What is the extension of the neck? The neck extends from the lower border of the mandible to the upper border of the sternum, and also from in the posteriorly it extends from the superior nuchal line to C7 T1 vertebrae. This is the extension of the neck. Now coming to the developmental anatomy, the neck consists of skin, muscles and viscera. The skin of the neck is derived from the cervical dermatome. The muscles and the fascia of the neck are derived from the cervical myotomes, and the viscera, that includes your endocrine glands, trachea, esophagus, they all derived from the branchial apparatus. The neck is divided into 4 compartments. They are visceral, vertebral and vascular compartments. Now coming to the visceral compartment. The visceral compartment is the anteriormost compartment. It includes the thyroid gland, trachea and esophagus. These are the main structures in the visceral compartment. It is also an anterior compartment. Now coming to the vertebral compartment. Vertebral compartment is the posterior compartment. It includes the vertebrae and vertebral muscles, including the spinal cord. This is the spinal cord, vertebrae and surrounding spinal and paraspinal muscles. So somebody messaged me, any trouble regarding the voice? Are you able to hear? Okay, no problem. If you have any trouble, please tell me. Okay then. Now coming to vascular compartments. There are 2 vascular compartments on either side. They carry major blood vessels and the vagus nerve. See, these are the vascular compartments containing the internal carotid artery and internal jugular vein along with the vagus nerve. So total 4 compartments: anterior visceral compartment, posterior vertebral compartment, on either side vascular compartments. So below the skin there is something known as fascia. Fascia is nothing but a connective tissue layer made up of collagen. It separates the skin from the underlying structures. The fascia of the neck is known as the cervical fascia or fascia colli. This fascia is further divided into superficial fascia, deep fascia, and deep fascia is further divided into so superficial fascia, the superficial fascia, deep fascia, and the deep fascia is further divided into superficial layer or investing layer, middle layer or visceral layer. This further divided into muscular division and visceral division. This deep layer has 2 divisions. It is known as the alar division and prevertebral division. So cervical fascia is divided into superficial fascia and deep fascia. Deep fascia is further divided into superficial layer, middle layer and deep layer. So why are we learning about this fascia? Because this fascia divides the neck into several spaces. These spaces are important because they are involved in several infections causing abscesses. So as we want to learn how the abscesses form and what is the source of their infection, before that we have to know about the fascia, the facial planes, and also the spaces created by this fascia. So that is the reason we are learning from the we are again memorizing the fascia, which is already taught in your anatomy in the first year. Now coming to superficial fascia, is also known as stela subcutanea. It is nothing but a continuous sheet of fascia extending from head and neck to thorax, shoulder and axilla. The main content of this fascia is platysma, and it also covers the muscles of the facial expression. This superficial fascia is penetrated by the several blood vessels that supplies the skin of the neck. So the blood supply comes deep. It pierces through the platysma superficial layer and it supplies the skin. And the nerve supply is by the cervical branch of the facial nerve. This superficial fascia, it contains a potential facial plane within the fiber of fatty tissue, which is present superficial to the platysma and also deep to the platysma. So this fascia is creating two spaces. One space is superficial to platysma and another is deep to the platysma. This space is important because though the infection of this space are rare, whenever it involves, the entire neck involves. So that is to be noted. The infections of this space is rare, but whenever it is involved, it involves the entire neck. Now coming to deep cervical fascia proper. It contains, as we seen in the before slides, three sub-layers. They are superficial or investing layer, middle layer, and also deep layer. Now we deal with the superficial layer or investing layer. It originates above from the superior external occipital protuberance. You can see, right, this is the external occipital protuberance. This is the mastoid bone along the parotid gland. It also takes origin from the lower border of the mandible. See, these are the superior attachments of the deep cervical fascia. Below, it is attached to the spine of the scapula, clavicle, and also manubrium sternum. And anteriorly or in front, it is attached to the hyoid bone. Posteriorly, this is the external occipital protuberance. This is the ligamentum nuchae. So these are the origins for superficial or investing layer. This layer, it encloses several structures. Those are muscles, sternocleidomastoid and trapezius muscle. The glands it encloses are the parotid glands and the submandibular gland. And the spaces it covers are posterior triangle and suprasternal space of Burns. See, this is the superficial layer of the deep fascia. When it goes inferiorly, it splits into two parts and attaches to the sternum. That space which it encloses, it is known as suprasternal space of Burns. Okay, that is a 2 marks question for you. So it contains fat and also heads of the sternocleidomastoid and also head the medial end of the clavicle. These are the contents of the suprasternal space of Burns. Now coming to middle layer of the deep cervical fascia. It contains two divisions, muscular division and visceral division. As the name suggests, the muscular division encloses the strap muscles. These strap muscles are nothing but ribbon-like muscles present in the anterior neck. Then the visceral division. As the name suggests, it encloses the viscera. What are the viscera in the neck? anterior part of the neck? They are thyroid, trachea, thyroid, trachea, and esophagus. Now coming to the attachments of this middle layer. Anterosuperiorly, this middle layer is attached to the hyoid bone, thyroid cartilage. Posteriorly, it is attached to the skull base. This is nothing but the buccopharyngeal fascia, which is a subdivision of the middle layer. Inferiorly, they are attached to the sternum, clavicles, and scapula. Now coming to the subdivisions of this layer, there are three subdivisions. They are buccopharyngeal. See, this is the buccopharyngeal fascia. This is the pretracheal fascia and prethyroid fascia. That is fascia covering the thyroid gland, which is a thin layer. It is not shown in this picture. Now coming to deep layer of deep cervical fascia. Okay, it consists of two layers, alar layer and also prevertebral layer. The alar layer extends from the, see, this is the transverse process. It extends from the one transverse process to the other transverse process, and from base of the skull to the T2 vertebra. So the lateral extent is, horizontal extent is from one transverse process to the other transverse process. Vertical extent is from the base of the skull to T2, where it ends, it fuses with the visceral layer of the middle layer of the deep cervical fascia. So among this deep cervical fascia, this alar layer is the superficial portion. It lies between the middle layer, that is this green one, this middle layer, and this is the prevertebral division. Okay, the location is between the middle layer and also the prevertebral layer. This middle layer or this alar layer forms the posterior boundary of the retropharyngeal space and the anterior wall of the danger space. So I'll show in the lateral sides how it is related. Okay, see, this is the alar layer extending from one transverse process to the other. This is the middle layer and this is the prevertebral layer. Okay, so this alar layer is present between the middle layer and prevertebral layer. Now coming to the prevertebral layer. This prevertebral layer, as we have seen, it is present anterior to the vertebral bodies. Okay, so this is the vertebral body. This is present anterior to it. This is the prevertebral layer. Posteriorly, it attaches to the spinous process, and the extent is through the entire spinal vertebral column, that is from the skull base to the coccyx. So, and it forms the anterior layer of the prevertebral space. I'll tell you how it is related in the lateral sides, don't worry. So you remember that prevertebral layer lies just in front of the vertebra. It spreads lateral from one transverse process to the other, like the alar fascia, and it is attached posteriorly to the spinous process. Is everything clear till now? You want me to slow down? Please reply. Okay. Then, okay. Now coming to carotid sheath. What is this carotid sheath? It is nothing but a fascia covering the great vessels, that is the internal carotid artery, internal jugular vein, and vagus nerve. So where from this carotid sheath forms? This carotid sheath, some say that this carotid sheath forms from the three layers of the deep cervical fascia. It means the three layers, they fuse to form this carotid sheath. But the alternative idea is it is only formed from the posterior layer. But most of the people suggests that it is formed from this 3 layers. So what are the contents of this carotid sheath? Carotid artery, there is internal carotid artery, internal jugular vein, vagus nerve and sympathetic trunk. What is the extension of this carotid sheath? It extends from the base of the skull to the superior mediastinum. So this is the extent of the carotid sheath. As you can see, this red one is the superficial fascia, superficial layer of the deep fascia. Green is middle layer of the deep fascia. Blue is deep layer of the deep fascia. So as you can see, 3 colors are given in the carotid sheath, means it is formed from these 3 layers. That is the important point here. You can see, right? It is formed from 3 layers. Now coming to facial spaces. This fascia, as I told you before, these facial layers, they split to enclose the muscles and various structures. In doing so, they create some spaces which form the conduit or a passage for spread of infections, because they contain only loose areolar tissue which does not act a barrier to stop the infection. So main idea of learning about this fascia is to learn about various facial spaces in the neck. The deep neck spaces are divided into 3 subheadings based on their location with respect to the hyoid bone. So there are 3 subdivisions. They are spaces occupying entire length of the neck. The spaces that are present above the hyoid, they are known as suprahyoid group, and the spaces present below the hyoid known as the infrahyoid group. So the spaces involving the entire neck are superficial neck space and deep neck. Among the deep neck spaces, retropharyngeal space, danger space of Gillette, and prevertebral space. So we are dealing with this part first. Spaces occupying the entire length of the neck. So coming to superficial space first. This superficial space is nothing but a space that surrounds the platysma. It contains loose areolar tissue, lymph nodes, nerves and vessels. So whenever it is commonly involved in cellulitis and superficial abscesses. The infection of this space is known as necrotizing fasciitis. Necrotizing fasciitis. We'll deal with this in detail in the next class. Just remember, the superficial space space infection is known as necrotizing fasciitis. Sometimes they can also form localized abscesses. Now coming to the next one, that is the retropharyngeal space. The boundaries of the retropharyngeal space are: retro means behind, pharyngeal means pharynx. So this space is present behind the pharynx. So the boundaries of the retropharyngeal space are, see, this is the pharynx. Okay. This is the buccopharyngeal fascia and this is the alar fascia. So this retropharyngeal space is present between the buccopharyngeal fascia, which is nothing but the division of middle layer. That is middle layer of the deep fascia, and it is present between the middle layer and also the alar fascia. Alar fascia is the subdivision of the deep layer. So this retropharyngeal space is present between the middle layer and the posterior layers of the deep cervical fascia. Now coming to the boundaries. In front, it is bounded by the superior middle pharyngeal constrictor muscle. See, these are the constrictor muscles. It is present. This is the anterior. This is the posterior, because this is the vertebrae. Okay, anteriorly bound by the constrictor muscles. posteriorly alar fascia, superiorly, see this is the skull base, clivus, this is skull base, superiorly skull base, and inferiorly it fuses with the visceral layer at the level of T1, T2. Okay. Laterally this is the carotid sheath. It is bounded by the carotid sheath. So anteriorly constrictor muscles, posteriorly alar fascia, laterally carotid sheath, superiorly skull base, inferiorly T1 T2 junction. Okay, and see this space. This space is divided by a fibrous raphe to create space of Gillette. Okay, spaces of Gillette. This retropharyngeal space is further divided into space of Gillette. This is the sagittal view. This is the buccopharyngeal. This is the pharynx, buccopharyngeal fascia, alar fascia. In between them is the retropharyngeal space. Okay. So what are the contents of this space? Any space should have some content. Here it is filled with loose alveolar tissue and lymph nodes. There are two types of lymph nodes. One, inconsistent group means they are not present in everyone. These are known as glands of Henle. These are usually seen in pediatric age group. They regress by the age of 5. Whenever it gets infected, it causes an abscess in the retropharyngeal space. These are known as, then this abscess is known as acute retropharyngeal abscess. And other group of nodes which are constant, it is present in almost everybody. These are known as Rouvier's nodes, Rouvier's lymph nodes. These are 2 marks question for you. Rouvier's nodes. Okay. They are seen in they enlarge during nasopharyngeal and posterior sinus malignancies. So, what is the source of infection for this retropharyngeal space? Peritonsillar space. Infection from peritonsillar space can enter this space. Infection from parapharyngeal space can enter. From this retropharyngeal space, the infection can enter the danger space, prevertebral space, causing mediastinitis. In next slide, I'll explain again. So, the source of infection for retropharyngeal space is peritonsillar space and parapharyngeal space infections. Now coming to danger space. It is an important question for you. They can give you for 2 marks or 4 marks. It is nothing but a potential space between alar fascia and prevertebral fascia. See, this is the alar fascia and this is the prevertebral fascia, and the space between them is danger space. So this danger space is posterior to the retropharyngeal space. So this alar fascia, as I told you in the earlier slide, this alar fascia forms the posterior wall of the retropharyngeal space and anterior wall of the danger space. You get it right? You're understanding what I'm saying? Okay. So anteriorly alar fascia, as we talked here, posteriorly prevertebral fascia, superiorly base of skull, inferiorly it extends up to the diaphragm. Laterally, the fusion of alar and prevertebral fascia at the transverse process. So the boundaries of the danger space are anteriorly alar fascia, posteriorly prevertebral fascia, superiorly base of the skull, inferiorly upper border of the diaphragm, laterally by the fusion of this alar and prevertebral fascia at the transverse process. So why it is called a danger space? So see, this is the danger space. Is extending from the skull base to the diaphragm, passing through the posterior mediastinum. This is the location for posterior mediastinum. So the important structures in the posterior mediastinum are superior vena cava, arch of aorta, thoracic duct, and trachea. So if the infection occurs in this space, it trickles down into the posterior mediastinum. It causes mediastinitis, which is very fatal. So that is where it is known as danger space. It can lead to death of the patient. It is very fatal. So the infection in the danger space can trickle into the mediastinum, causing mediastinitis. This mediastinitis can cause necrosis or erosion of the great vessels, causing death of the patient. So this danger space is a 4 marks question for you. Now coming to prevertebral space. As the name suggests, is present in front of the vertebra. So the anterior boundary is the prevertebral fascia, posterior boundary is the vertebral body. See? So this is the prevertebral fascia. These are the vertebral bodies. The narrow space between them is the prevertebral space. It extends the entire length of the vertebral column. That is, it is present from the base of the skull to the coccyx. Infection of this space remains confined because it is surrounded by thick fascia and also the paraspinal muscles. So the infection cannot spread beyond that. So the infection, whenever occurs, it is localized in that area. Commonly, you see this space involved in TB spine. Next is this is also an important 2 marks question for you. Visceral vascular space. It is nothing but a potential space within the carotid sheath. We talked about carotid sheath before, right? It contains internal carotid artery, internal jugular vein, vagus nerve, and some sympathetic trunk. Along with this, there is some space surrounding these vessels. This potential space is known as visceral vascular space. Now coming to, whenever there is space, there are contents. The contents of this space here: alveolar tissue, and it is resistant to the spread of infection because the carotid sheath is made from 3 layers. From the fusion of 3 layers, it is very tough. The infection cannot go beyond it, or it goes rarely beyond it. But what happens is, it can travel through the space. That is, this carotid sheath is nothing but a tubular structure containing vessels. So it travels along this tubular space, which is nothing but the visceral vascular space, up to the mediastinum. So any infection in this space can go into the mediastinum unimpeded because there is no obstruction. There is a single pathway. That is why it is known as Lincoln's Highway of Moshe. Lincoln's Highway of Moshe. Okay, it extends from the base of the skull to the mediastinum. So this ends the spaces occupying entire length of the neck. Now coming to the spaces that are above the hyoid, the suprahyoid spaces. Those include submental space, submandibular space, peritonsillar space, parotid space, parapharyngeal space, and finally masticator space. Now coming to submental space. Sub means below, mentum means the midline portion of the mandible. It is present just below it. So it is known as submental space. It is present between the anterior bellies of the digastric muscles. So this is the anterior belly. This is the posterior belly. This is the anterior belly. This is the posterior belly. This space is present between anterior belly of digastric on either side. Okay. The content of this space is Euxellar tissue, lymph nodes, and anterior jugular vein. Are you able to comprehend what I am saying? Please reply. Okay. Knowing about this submental space is important because commonly in pediatric age group, this submental lymph nodes are involved. They present with a swelling below the mandible. We have to differentiate it from the submandibular space infection. Now coming to submandibular space. It is further divided into submaxillary space and sublingual space by the mylohyoid muscle. Okay. See, this is the tongue. Okay. This is the mandible. This is the mylohyoid muscle, separating the sublingual because present below the tongue and submaxillary space. Okay. So whenever this space is filled with a pus or any fluid, what happens to the tongue? It is raised upwards, causing obstruction to the airway, causing stridor. Okay, or difficulty in breathing. So boundaries. So anteriorly and laterally bound by the mandible, medially by the digastric muscle, posteriorly by the hyoid bone, inferiorly, that is superficially outwards, superficial layer of the deep fascia, and deeply superiorly or deep to the space is the oral mucosa of the oral cavity. So anteriorly by the mandible, medially by the digastric muscle, posteriorly by the hyoid, superficially by the deep fascia, inferiorly by the deep fascia, and superficially by the oral mucosa. So this is submental space. This space is lateral to the submental space. Now coming to sublingual space contents. What are the contents of this space? They include Euxellar tissue, very important, hypoglossal and lingual nerves, sublingual gland, and Wharton's duct. The submylohyoid or submaxillary space. Because submaxillary space is present below the mylohyoid, it is known as submylohyoid also. Anterior bellies of digastric and submandibular gland. These are the contents. Important thing to be noted is these two subdivisions, they communicate freely behind the posterior border of the mylohyoid. Actually, they communicate here. Okay. Now coming to parapharyngeal space. Parapharyngeal space is a inverted pyramid. So it is superiorly bounded by the skull base, inferiorly by hyoid, anteriorly is the anteriorly pterygomandibular raphe, okay, posteriorly prevertebral fascia, medially buccopharyngeal fascia, the buccopharyngeal fascia, and supraconstrictor muscle, and laterally by the deep fascia. So parapharyngeal spaces are two in number. They are present on either side of the pharynx. They are inverted pyramidal shape with boundaries. Superior boundary by the skull base, inferiorly by the hyoid, anteriorly by pterygomandibular raphe, posteriorly by the prevertebral fascia, medially by the superior constrictor, and laterally by the superficial layer of the deep fascia. This space is further divided into two subdivisions by the styloid apparatus. Styloid apparatus includes styloid process and Rossetti insertion of the styloid muscles. They're inserted in a Rossetti manner around the styloid process. So, styloid apparatus includes styloid process and the styloid muscles. What they do is they divide this parapharyngeal space into pre-styloid and post-styloid. That is in front of the styloid and behind the styloid. So pre-styloid compartment is also known as anterior compartment. It is bounded medially by the, this is the anterior pre-styloid compartment. Medially it is bounded by the tonsillar fossa. This is the tonsillar fossa. And laterally by the medial pterygoid. The space between them is the pre-styloid space of the parapharyngeal space. Now coming to post-styloid. Post-styloid contains important structures like carotid sheath with carotid artery, jugular vein, vagus, along with the cranial nerves 9, 10 and 12. So the post-styloid compartment contains neurovascular structures. So any infection spreading into this space is potentially fatal. But the infection between infection spread between pre-styloid and post-styloid compartment is stopped by the aponeurosis of the Zucker candle formed by the intersection of fascias from alar fascia, buccopharyngeal fascia, stylomuscular fascia. These three fascias fuse to form a barrier. This is known as aponeurosis of Zucker candle, which prevents the spread from the pre-styloid space to the post-styloid space. See, this is the styloid apparatus. Anterior to that is the pre-styloid space. Posterior to that is post-styloid space. Now coming to what are the sources of infection to this pharyngeal space? The infections from pterygomandibular space, submandibular space, peritonsillar space, sublingual space can enter into the lateropharyngeal space. From there, if it enters the cavernous sinus, it causes cavernous sinus thrombosis, which is again fatal. It can also enter retropharyngeal space and form retropharyngeal abscess. It can enter the carotid space, that is the visceral vascular space, and enter the mediastinum, causing mediastinitis, which is also fatal. And third is the danger space. Even the danger space also ultimately spreads the infection to mediastinum, causing mediastinitis. Now coming to peritonsillar space. During while we discussed about tonsil, then we have also discussed about this. Again, we'll refresh. So this peritonsillar space bounded medially by the capsule, laterally by the superficial pharyngeal constrictor, and space between them is the peritonsillar space, superiorly by anterior pillar and inferiorly by the posterior pillar. It is filled with loose areolar tissue, primarily in the superior part, close to the soft palate. So whenever there is this abscess, it potentially localized to the superior pole of the tonsil. Okay. Now coming to masticator space. So masticator space is nothing but a space that is present between the masseter muscle. See, this is the masseter. Sorry, this is the masseter, and this is the medial pterygoid. The space between them is masticator space. That's it. This masticator space, it communicates superiorly with the temporal space. This masticator space contains masseter, medial pterygoid, and lateral pterygoid. These are the contents of the masticator space. This masticator space, it communicates superiorly with the temporal space, passing deep to the zygote. See, this is the superficial temporal space. The temporal space is formed by nothing but the superficial fascia. So this is the superficial fascia and periosteum covering the temporal bone. So the space between them is the temporal space. Again, it is divided into superficial and deep by the temporalis muscle itself. So this muscle is dividing the space into deep space and superficial space. Okay. What are the contents of this space? Maxillary artery and mandibular nerve. So you can see I have marked this tooth, which is a second molar, because the infection from this molar, second molar, spreads into this space, causing masticator and temporal abscesses. Okay. Now coming to parotid space. As the name suggests, it is a space that surrounds the parotid gland. It is formed from the superficial layer of deep fascia and septa from the capsule of the gland itself. It contains obviously the parotid gland and also parotid lymph nodes, facial nerve, and posterior facial vein. Okay. But this facial envelope, it is deficient supramedially, facilitating the communication between this space and parapharyngeal space. So parotid space infection can trickle into parapharyngeal space and vice versa. Okay. See, this is the styloid process. This is the mandible. Space between them, the ligament that is joining them is stylomandibular ligament. It separates the parotid gland from the deeper structures. Okay. And finally, an infrahyoid space. The infrahyoid space contains only one space, that is pretracheal space or anterior visceral space. It is formed by the middle layer of the deep fascia. It contains thyroid, trachea, esophagus. See, this dotted line is the middle fascia. It is lining the trachea, thyroid, and also esophagus. See, this is the and the space, this middle layer encloses is known as anterior visceral space. Below the level of the thyroid gland, this space below the level of the thyroid gland, it communicates with the retropharyngeal space. Now coming to contents of this space, it contains a node known as Delphian node, or sometimes called as the prelaryngeal lymph node. See, since all these structures are surrounded by this fascia, so whenever there is, so that's why they move during deglutation, including the Delphian node. Okay, so anterior visceral space is formed by the middle layer of deep fascia. It contains trachea, thyroid, and esophagus. The space runs from the thyroid gland up to the anterior superior mediastinum. Below the level of the thyroid gland, it communicates laterally with the retropharyngeal space. The content of this space is Delphian nerve. Other name for or some books mention this space as pretracheal space. Okay. See location. This is the trachea. The location of the space is in front of the trachea. Okay. And another important thing I wanted to mention is numbered spaces of Grodinsky and Holyoake. Means this is a separate classification of spaces. They give numbering. So I want to speak about this also. These are nothing but all the spaces we have discussed but in this classification they are given some numbers. So now coming to numbers, that is space number 1. Space number 1 is superficial to superficial fascia. See, this is the space number 1. This is the superficial fascia covering the sternomastoid. It is present superficial to that. Second one is the space 2. It's a space lying superficial to sternothyroid, that is the strap muscle, division of middle layer, and deep cervical fascia between first and second layers of the middle layer. See, this is the space. See, this is the middle layer, superficial layer, and this is the middle layer enclosing the strap muscle, sternothyroid and thyrohyoid. The space between them is the space 2. Now coming to space 3. This is space present superficial to the visceral division, including pretracheal, retropharyngeal, and lateral pharyngeal spaces. Okay, all these spaces, including the retropharyngeal space. So, space 3A is also known as visceral vascular space or carotid sheath space. We have discussed this also. This is the space 3A. Now coming to danger space. Danger space is present immediately posterior to the retropharyngeal space. So this is the danger space. 4A is a space present in the posterior triangle of the neck and posterior to the carotid sheath. And space 5A, 5 is prevertebral space, that is present behind the prevertebral layer. See, this is the prevertebral fascia and the space behind that. This is the prevertebral space. Okay. And 5A, enclosed by the prevertebral fascia posterior to the transverse process, containing scalene and spinal and paraspinal muscles. Okay. So this is another classification divided by Grodinsky and Holyoake. Next topic. Next is the neck nodes. As you're dealing with the benign malignancies of the larynx, you should know about the divisions of the lymph nodes. So homework for you is to learn about the various divisions of the lymph nodes, which is very important. Okay. So the most important thing is up to level 7. We are more concerned up to level 7. Okay. These are lesser important nodes. Till here you should know. Okay. So, did you understand anything in this class? Because next class I'll deal with the abscesses, that is the pathology part. I want to know if you got any basic idea about this post this class. Please reply. If you want me to repeat anything, again I'll repeat in the next class. Any doubts? Anything you want me to cover again, or any doubts, please reply. Please reply if you hear me. Any doubts? If not, I'll conclude the class. Yeah, second internal date, I'll talk to the associate professor and will message you the date through your CR. Okay. Yes, next class, while discussing about the abscesses, again I'll talk about this. Okay. Portion also will be given to you. Don't worry. And next class, before talking about space abscess, I'll again talk about anatomy briefly. Don't worry. But you have to read it today. You read today. And if you have any doubts, you can mail me or you can ask me in the class, next class. Regarding exams, everything will be informed to you. Don't worry. Will be informed to you. Okay? Today or tomorrow we'll inform. Okay then. Then I'm concluding the class. Thank you very much.